Hi, so I recently got released from a psych ward about a week or so, a week and a half ago, and it was quite an experience. So, to start off with, I was in I went to the hospital because I was really struggling, and also to start off with, I started by calling like a suicide helpline, which honestly is really helpful. They are amazing people, and they really do care, and they check up with you every couple hours if you're really struggling. So I highly recommend that if you're ever struggling to reach out to someone, especially like a suicide hotline. They're there and they're meant for that. Um, to continue, I went to the hospital and I had a sitter for about a day, pretty much the whole day I was there. It's like 11 hours that I was in the hospital. And while I was there, I talked with my sitter. She helped me kind of calm down a bit, and she would quiz me on her studying cards because it kept me distracted enough. And then, they finally transferred me to the hospital, and I had already known that the hospital they were transferring me to, I had heard not so great things about, so I was not necessarily very excited about going there. I mean, not that you would be in general going to a psych hospital, but they transferred me to the psych hospital, and I knew like first, before they got there, they had already drugged me up on all my medicines. So when I got there, I was so tired, I could barely function and sign all the papers they needed me to sign. And the lady was like, "Oh, we'll just finish your admission tomorrow. You're too tired to do this." So I went to bed, and the next day, I noticed that my sound sensitivity was really bad. So for those of you who don't know, when I went to residential treatment, my like 2 or 3 months ago, I developed a really bad sound sensitivity. So every time there'd be a loud sound, even a pen dropping on the floor, it was enough to send me in fetal position on the ground screaming at every sound. So you can imagine in a psych ward that can be quite noisy. So I had so bad sound sensitivity while I was there, and I had people make fun of me. They would clap on purpose to make me fall to the ground. And if there was a lot of sound at once, it would cause me to have a panic attack. So I had one day, it was just really bad, and there were so many sounds, and I was overwhelmed by that. And then I lost my phone numbers. And so I was overwhelmed by that to add on top of it, and I started having a panic attack. And my nurse that day was a male nurse, and so I went up to the counter to get my anxiety medication. Well, first I was pacing back and forth from falling to the ground, and so finally I didn't get up, and someone came and like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm not." And so my nurse had me go sit at the nurse's station while he gave me my medicine. And then as I was having a panic attack, he tries to go up to me and puts his hands on my shoulder and on my wrist. And that made me panic even more. And a girl in the unit, she saw this and she goes, "Get your hands off of her." And he said, "Oh no, I know what I'm doing. Let me do my job." And she's like, "Well, obviously you don't, because that's not how you never touch someone having a panic attack without their permission. That's just not okay." And so then he takes me to my room, and so that there wouldn't be as much sound, he shuts the door with him on the inside, which makes my anxiety worse. But I tried to calm myself down, and then just enough that I could get out of my room, because I was like, I'm not going to stay in here a minute longer with him in here. And so I get out of my room and I start pacing down the halls. I have another panic attack, and it was just crazy. So after that, the next day, they ended up there. They had taken us outside, and on the unit, there was another girl in the other unit who was outside at the same time, and she was screaming and crying, and so she would just flat out scream. And so that sent me into a whole spiral, and I started panicking and having a panic attack. And then I went to I went inside, and after that, that's when they decided that they were going to transfer me to a quieter unit, which I was okay with. They just didn't tell me or ask me or anything. So they were just like, oh, by the way, you're moving to another room. And so they took me to the other unit. And it was quieter except for the door closing all the time. So every time the door closed, I'd drop to the ground. And when I pace along the hallways, I'd pace up and down the unit. And every time that there'd be a sound, I would just fall to the ground. And then one of the nurses would make me go wash my hands. And that got irritating after a while because I fell down a lot, like a lot. But after a couple days of being on that unit, they were able to change up my medications. They gave me a nerve blocker, which seemed to help a lot, and they changed some of my medications up. So it helped, and my sound sensitivity went completely away, and I felt a lot better after that. So yeah, that's my crazy experience. And then I met this girl in the unit. She was autistic, and she was really sweet, really sweet. And she loved to talk. She loved to talk. And she also loved to draw. So we ended up making kid stories together to raise awareness for being different and for having mental illness. So we wrote stories. I would write the story, and then she would she would draw the pictures to go with it. And it was a really fun way to pass time because what better things do you have to do in a psych ward, honestly? So yeah, that's my experience. What's yours?